Chapter 29:14. Aya, where do you need to go to find him? Isn't he far away in the horizon, but close in front of you? As it said so, it suddenly stomped its 4 hooves and ran to Luo Qingtong's shoulder. It raised a small hoof and put it on Luo Qingtong's ear, whispering to her. Hearing its words, Luo Qingtong's face was strange for a while. This Hum-ji is really bad. But she quite liked its bad behavior. It could kill several birds with one stone, and it could make up for her negligence of doing bad things with good intentions. Luo Qingtong thought so, and suddenly raised her hand and took it into her arms. Okay, we'll do as you said. Let's go. In the dark of the night, Chu Tianyi drank wine one mouthful after another. He drank a lot and was very anxious. The hotel owner next to him was frightened for a while. He was afraid that he would accidentally get drunk and his idea would be ruined. What kind of sin did he commit in the end? He was sleeping soundly in his bed, and suddenly such a demon came, pulled him out of the bed, and asked him to open the door for business. Just when the hotel owner was frightened, Luo Qingtong's figure appeared in front of Chu Tianyi. Boss, I'll pay for his wine. You can go down and rest. Luo Qingtong said to the hotel owner, and then threw a string of money to him. When the latter received the money, his face suddenly lit up with joy. This money was enough to buy his whole hotel and more. Encountering such a customer, he immediately left tactfully. Okay, you two have a good chat. I'll go first. After saying that, he immediately ran away like a wisp of smoke. Because at this time, Chu Tianyi had raised his head and looked at Luo Qingtong with murderous eyes. He said coldly, Do you really think I don't dare to kill you? You dare to appear in front of me. If it weren't for her, his identity wouldn't have been seen through by Yen Yang. Obviously, Yen Yang was about to fall in love with him. It wouldn't be long before he would be able to tell her his identity. As Chu Tianyi thought of this, the killing intent in his heart intensified. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She looked at him with a smile and said, If you wanted to make a move, you would have done so long ago. Isn't that right? This man still missed Yen Yang. He knew that once he fought with him, it would be impossible between him and Yen Yang forever. Of course, Luo Qingtong was not afraid of him. Even if she couldn't use the evil blood bracelet and couldn't fully display the power of the tyrant god fist, she still had no problem dealing with a peak 9th level human martial realm expert. Humph. Chu Tianyi's voice was cold. He ignored her and continued drinking. Indeed, he wouldn't touch Luo Qingtong. He hadn't moved before, and he wouldn't move now either. Yen Yang was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. She valued Luo Qingtong very much. If she died, Yen Yang would be very sad. Therefore, he used the method of intimidation to make Luo Qingtong give up the master-servant relationship with Yen Yang. He didn't make a move. Otherwise, with his strength, would Luo Qingtong have a chance to escape? Therefore, even if his killing intent was burning, Chu Tianyi didn't make a move against Luo Qingtong. Naturally, he didn't know that Luo Qingtong's strength was different from what he imagined. Luo Qingtong didn't care about his attitude. She just sat down beside him and said indifferently, How about it? Do you still want to be with Yen Yang? Chapter 29:15. When she said this, Chu Tianyi immediately raised his head and looked at her. What opportunity? His voice was cold. Luo Qingtong smiled and took out a piece of paper. She slapped it in front of him and said with a smile, It's very simple. Sign this contract and sell yourself to me as a slave for 1 year. For 1 year, you will be under my command. Then you and Yen Yang can be together, right? For 1 year, both of you will be my slaves. Isn't it easy for you to get close to her? More importantly, you, the head of the Tianfeng Chu family, are willing to sell yourself to me as a slave for Yen Yang. Even if Yen Yang's heart is hard and cruel, and she can't forgive you, she should be a little touched, right? It depends on whether you are willing to make this sacrifice. Luo Qingtong's face was full of smiles. That's right, the person Little Pig had told her about was Chu Tianyi, who was far away but close at hand. This man was the leader of a first-class family in the 6-star region and the overlord of the entire Tianfeng region. His strength was at the peak of the 9th level of the human martial realm, which was comparable to that of the earth martial realm. He was the best person to inject the cores of the 2 continents into her body. However, Luo Qingtong wouldn't say this out loud. She didn't want Chu Tianyi to have the opportunity to threaten her and make her help him be together with Yan Nyang. Although she also had this idea, she had to be the one in control. Therefore, Luo Qingtong proposed to let Chu Tianyi sell himself to her for 1 year. In this way, it would be logical for her to let Chu Tianyi inject the cores of the 2 continents into her body. If Chu Tianyi was willing to make such a sacrifice and choice, it would prove that Yan Nyang was more important than anything else in his heart, including himself. In this way, Luo Qingtong would be able to set them up with ease. And Yan Nyang's own heart knot would be untied. Therefore, it all depended on whether Chu Tianyi was willing or not. As soon as Luo Qingtong spoke, the veins on Chu Tianyi's forehead bulged. This young girl in front of him was truly insatiable. Putting aside the fact that she had already sold his wife and son to her as slaves, she even had designs on him. Not only that, she even knew his identity. "You know who I am?" His voice was cold. "Did you deliberately expose my actions so that Yan Nyang would know about it?" Obviously, he had misunderstood. He thought that after Luo Qingtong had seen through his identity, she had deliberately set up a trap to let Yan Nyang discover his identity and then force him to sign such a slave contract. The anger in Chu Tianyi's heart was monstrous. Luo Qingtong looked at the killing intent and anger in his eyes and suddenly felt funny. However, she didn't explain. Instead, she said indifferently, "You can think whatever you want. But this slave contract, are you going to sign it or not?" The more he misunderstood, the more she could see his feelings for Yan Nyang when he made a choice. Therefore, Luo Qingtong didn't explain. Chu Tianyi fiercely gritted his teeth. When his teeth were about to bleed, he nodded coldly, "Okay, I promise you." It was only a 1-year contract. So what if he sold himself to her as a slave? Only by following her side could he see Yan Nyang and be together with her. And in the future, if he had the chance, he must expose Luo Qingtong's true face and let Yan Nyang know how disgusting the master she sincerely worships was. But if one looked carefully, one would find that the emotions in her eyes were not calm. Yan Nyang did not expect that Chu Tianyi would sell himself to Luo Qingtong. But he did do it. Yan Nyang had seen the slave contract. It was Chu Tianyi's sole imprint. Why did he do it? What was his purpose? Could it be that he was so unscrupulous in order to get his son back? Yan Nyang's heart was in a mess, but she was unwilling and did not dare to admit that he did it for her. Chapter 29:17. Haha. This time, we went out to participate in the martial competition. It's really refreshing. Yes. Our Dark Colors Arena's people have never felt so good before. Those people from the arenas of the 7 or 8-star domains, and even the 6-star domains, can't beat us at all. Isn't that so? Huh, you didn't see the expressions of the people from the 7 or 8-star domains who lost. They were in disbelief. Everyone was talking loudly, their faces filled with excitement. The higher-ups of the dark-colored arena were also listening to their conversation, and they were full of admiration for them. The people here were all elites and main forces that were highly valued by the Dark Color Arena. They were the ones who led the people from the Dark Color Arena to participate in the martial competition in the extraterritorial region. Meanwhile, the elders of the Dark Colored Arena were sitting in the Dark Colored Arena, waiting for them to return. The so-called martial competition was a competition that was held every year in the arenas of the major star fields. The various arenas each placed their own bets and then compared the experts that they had recently recruited with each other. The winners would then split the rewards according to their rankings. The higher the ranking, the more powerful the cross-level challenge, and the greater the rewards. As for the people from the Dark Arena, it was obvious that they had earned a lot this time. Because the arenas of the 9-star domains usually competed with the arenas of the 9-star domains. However, they obviously competed with the arenas of the 7 or 8-star domains, and even the 6-star domains. And obviously, they won. Haha. Yes, it's all thanks to the elders who sent us that line of people called. Oh, it's called Tianxia. Especially that guy called Suyu. He actually has the constitution of a natural military god. This constitution is useless before it's revealed. But once it's revealed, and with enough loyal troops, it's like killing people and gods in its way. It's said that it's very difficult to reveal such an iron-blooded military heart and military soul constitution. In addition to having a heart that is as firm as a rock, unswerving and cold-blooded, there must also be someone who can make her pledge her loyalty to him, so that she can feel the extreme coldness of life, as well as the extreme warmth and gentleness of the world. Only those who have the heart of an iron-blooded soldier will be able to awaken the innate army god constitution without losing the warmth and loyalty to humanity after experiencing the hardships of the world. This kind of physique is 1 in a million. It's comparable to the innate divine physique. That's why it's called the innate military divine physique. I didn't expect that it would appear in our star desolate domain. That's right. We've really struck it rich this time. Not only did they receive a large number of rewards, but Suyu and the others were also coveted by a group of people. They're all scrambling to ask us about their selling prices. A dark-skinned elder with a ruddy complexion smiled and said, "It's a good thing we didn't agree to those 4 or 5-star domains. Otherwise, I'll miss the inquiry from the Qin clan of the highest heaven." Haha. Who would have thought that our little 9-star domain's arena would be able to establish a relationship with the Qin clan of the highest heaven from the 3-star domain? Isn't that so? The group of people who had just returned from outside suddenly laughed loudly. But the dark colors higher-ups who stayed behind in the star desolate domain couldn't laugh. What? An elder of the dark colors arena was so shocked that he tore off his beard. Chapter 29:18. Their faces were filled with shock. As for Elder Mao, his expression was one of disapproval. That's right. Although it's very rare to have the military god body, it's nothing compared to having a relationship with the highest heaven's Qin family. Not to mention, the rewards that the highest heaven's Qin family give us are very generous. It's resources that others can't even ask for. As he spoke, the people from the dark-colored arena quickly shook their heads. No, Elder Mao, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that Suyu. That group of people aren't from our dark-colored arena. That's right, Elder Mao. They're not from our dark-colored arena. They're only here to repay their master's debt. Moreover, they're from the True Spill continent and are highly regarded by the Star Alliance's Elder Fong. If you sell them out, the people of the True Spill continent won't let this go. The dark-colored arena's upper echelon said. Elder Mao suddenly frowned and said, "How come I didn't know about this? Didn't you send someone to explain?" Before the upper echelons of the dark-colored arena could say anything, a cold-looking young lady spoke up with a cold expression. "I deliberately didn't say anything. They're just a group of people from a low-level continent. What's there to care about? Even if they're valued by the Star Alliance's Elder Fong, the Star Alliance isn't just Elder Fong. What's more, we dark-colored people aren't afraid of the Star Alliance. Not to mention, it's rare for us to have a relationship with the highest heaven's Qin family. Are we just going to give up like this?" As the young girl said this, she raised her head high with an arrogant look on her face. As the dark-colored upper echelons looked at her, they frowned. This young girl's name was Tan Yu and she was Elder Mao's granddaughter. She was very arrogant and domineering. She had a good relationship with Mo Zhuling. This time's matter was most likely a deliberate move by her to deal with Suyu. But they couldn't refute Tan Yu's words. After all, every word she said was for the good of the dark-colored. But the high-level figures of the dark shade knew that the matters of True Spill continent weren't so simple. Although they didn't know about Yi Qianming, they could vaguely see some things from the changes within the Star Alliance. The people of the Star Alliance's leader were powerless against Elder Fong's group. The people of True Spill continent were deeply valued by Elder Fong and the others. The matters behind them were definitely not simple. But they couldn't say it out loud because they didn't have any evidence. And at this time, someone came in from outside. They said that people from the true Spill continent had come to pay a visit and wanted to redeem Suyu and the others. Hearing this, the expressions of the dark color's upper echelons suddenly changed. The girl named Tanyu said indifferently to Elder Mao, "Grandfather, the matter has already been set. We can't go to the Great Heaven Qin family to take him back. We might as well use some resources to send those people from true Spill continent away. We'll just say that Suyu sold them to us. In case they don't give up. At that time, they won't say anything after they get those resources." As Tanyu said this, her face was full of disdain. She didn't believe that those people from true Spill continent were only from some low-level continents. How could they have seen anything good? Chapter 29:19. As for Suyu and the others, who told them to voluntarily repay the debt on behalf of their master? Since that was the case, they naturally had to sell their bodies to repay the debt. As for whether or not the dark colors had such a rule, wasn't that up to them to decide? If they said there was, then there was. If they said there wasn't, then there wasn't. Even if the people of true Spill continent suffered a loss, they could only swallow their grievances. As Tanyu thought this, her heart was filled with pride. That woman Mo Zhuling hated the people of true Spill continent so much. Today, she would help her vent her anger. As her voice sounded out, Elder Mao nodded and said, "That's right, let's do this." As his words came out, the high-level figures of the dark colors didn't know what to say. Although they always felt that the background of true Spill continent wasn't so simple, they didn't have any evidence. Secondly, they didn't dare to ask Highest Heaven's Qin family for help. Thus, they had no choice but to wrong the people of true Spill continent. Even if they knew that Tanyu's words were completely twisted logic, and that she was bullying the people of true Spill continent, they could only go against their conscience and say that she was right. Otherwise, what could they do? They couldn't let themselves suffer for the people of true Spill continent. As everyone thought this, they immediately rushed to the reception hall. Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao were already waiting there. Luo Qingtong sat in a chair in the reception hall. Su Xiaoxiao, Yan Nyang, and the others waited on her left and right. Chu Tianyi didn't want to provoke Yan Nyang, so he retreated to a corner and silently looked at Yan Nyang's back. At this time, the people of the dark colors arena arrived. As they saw Su Xiaoxiao, Yan Nyang, and the others standing on either side of Luo Qingtong, their faces were filled with shock. They naturally knew the people of the 7 absolutes of true Spill. As for Yan Nyang, they were also very familiar with her. Yan Nyang was famous for her unique zither soul seal. Her strength far surpassed that of an ordinary martial artist. Amongst all the martial artists present, she was truly unique. She could be considered another benchmark of true Spill continent. It was just that Yan Nyang was a very low-key person, and she rarely revealed herself in front of others. Thus, most people didn't know that there was such a powerhouse in the true Spill continent. At this moment, she and the people of the 7 absolutes of true Yen were standing on the left and right of the young girl. From this, it could be seen that the latter's identity was definitely not ordinary. Everyone had vaguely guessed Luo Qingtong's identity. At this time, Luo Qingtong looked at them indifferently and said, "Hello, I am Luo Qingtong." She nodded at the higher-ups of the dark color and said, "I'm here to pick up my people. Of course, I won't let the people of the dark color arena suffer. I will pay double for all the losses caused by me bringing them back. In addition, I will compensate you with double the amount of resources for using your guest elder medallion." Luo Qingtong had thought it through. Before, the people of the dark colors arena had helped her. At this time, Suyu and the others had voluntarily entered the dark colors arena to fulfill her promise. Thus, she only needed to bring back Suyu and the others. As for the losses suffered by the dark colors arena, she would compensate them with double the amount. After all, when she used the guest token, it was said that if she couldn't go, she could use resources to offset it. It was just that Suyu and the others wanted to enter the dark colors arena to quickly improve themselves, so they didn't choose to use resources to offset it. Now that Luo Qingtong had used resources to redeem them, it could be considered that she had repaid the favor of the Dark Colors Arena. Chapter 29-20. Luo Qingtong, you're too naive. Do you think you can take away the people who entered our dark colors just because you want to? Since they entered our dark colors, they're our people. And we won't accept ransom. As soon as she said that, Luo Qingtong's hand, which was pressing on her storage ring, suddenly paused. She was already prepared to take out her resources. When she heard Tan Yu's words, she suddenly raised her eyebrows and said in a deep voice, "What do you mean by that?" "What do I mean?" "That's the literal meaning. They entered our dark colors because they were sold to us. In the future, they'll be our people. If you want to ransom them back, we won't agree." Tan Yu raised her head, and her face was very comfortable and happy. She had heard Mo Zhuling mention Luo Qingtong many times. He said that this woman was very difficult to deal with and was as cunning as a fox. However, didn't the other party have no way to deal with her words? So what if Su Yu and the others were her people? Could she still let Elder Fong and the others from the Star Alliance come and snatch them? Even if she could really do it, so what? The people of the dark colors weren't that afraid of Elder Fong and the others. Not to mention, Su Yu and the others had already been sold to the Qin family of the highest heaven. It was impossible for them to come back. Tan Yu's face was proud, but Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly turned cold. She released her hand from her storage ring and looked at the other higher-ups of the Dark Colors Arena with an indifferent expression. "Do you all have the same idea?" Tan Yu didn't get reprimanded by the higher-ups of the Dark Colors when she spoke in front of everyone. Obviously, their intentions were very clear. However, Luo Qingtong still had to ask. At the same time, she was also giving them one last chance. No one dared to touch her things casually, and it was the same for her people. If the people of the Dark Colors Arena dared to detain Su Yu and the others, Luo Qingtong would let them know how the word miserable was written. Very good. Seeing that they all kept silent, it was obvious that they knew that this matter was unreasonable, so they deliberately let Tan Yu take the lead. Luo Qingtong's lips curved slightly, and she smiled under the gazes of the people of the dark colors. "You're probably mistaken about one thing." Luo Qingtong slowly turned the storage ring in her hand and said coldly, "I came to take my people away this time to inform you, not to ask for your opinion." "You don't agree?" Luo Qingtong sneered. The smile on her lips was unusually evil and wanton. "Who do you think you are?" As Luo Qingtong's right after she had finished speaking, Luo Qingtong Shis Qingtong's Tans of Luo S. Luo. Before she could react, she was sent flying by Luo Qingtong's kick. Bang! Tan Yu's body fell heavily to the ground, and she instantly spat out a mouthful of blood. When the people of the Dark Colors Arena saw this, they were all enraged. "Luo Qingtong, what do you mean by this?" "What do I mean?" Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She stood up slowly like a queen descending to the world. Chapter 29-21. Luo Qingtong's eyes were ice cold. She never liked talking to people who didn't know the difference between life and death. These people from the dark-colored arena probably didn't know her temperament. Did they think that just because the dark-colored arena was powerful in the Star Wilderness, they could do whatever they wanted? If she wanted to take away someone, they would let her. She would take them away. If they didn't let her, she would take them away. Not to mention, Su Yu and the others were only fulfilling her promise. They hadn't been sold to the dark-colored arena yet. But now, listening to the words of the dark-colored arena, it seemed that they were prepared to detain Su Yu and the others, and not hand them over. Luo Qingtong didn't care why they were doing this. She only knew that if she wanted to take away her people, no one could stop her. When Luo Qingtong spoke, Elder Mao's voice also started to harshly reprimand. "Disgraceful. Don't think that just because your true Spill Continent has the support of Elder Fong, you can behave atrociously in our dark-colored arena. I'd like to see just how your true Spill Continent people will annihilate our dark-colored arena." He appeared beside Tan Yu and raised his hand to help her up with an angry look on his face. The latter's face was cold and distorted as he shouted in a sharp voice, "Grandfather, kill them. They are deliberately causing trouble in our dark color arena." Tan Yu's face was twisted to the extreme. After being kicked away by Luo Qingtong, her entire body was violently twitching in pain. The intense feeling of being slapped in the face made her want to kill someone. This slut. Tan Yu fiercely clenched her teeth. A deep sense of disgust towards Luo Qingtong welled up in her heart. She dared to hit her. Just who did she think she was? She was just a lucky person from a low-level continent. Did she really think that just because she was valued by Elder Fong of the Star Alliance, she was so great? Slut. Tan Yu's voice was vicious and sharp. At the same time, Elder Mao's cold voice rang out. "What are you all still doing here? Others are already bullying the entrance of our dark-colored arena, and you're still here to watch the show? What are you waiting for?" Elder Mao's words were naturally directed at the higher-ups of the dark-colored arena. He was a founding elder of the dark-colored arena. His strength and status were much higher than the upper echelons of the dark-colored arena. Therefore, as soon as his words left his mouth, a group of dark-colored arena executives immediately rushed towards Luo Qingtong and the others. Luo Qingtong slowly sat down after kicking Tan Yu away. Her expression was indifferent as she sat on the rosewood armchair. The expression on her face was extremely calm. It was as if she didn't see the group of dark colors upper echelons rushing towards her. Su Xiaoxiao and Yen Yang didn't move either. Everyone's calm expression quickly angered the upper echelons of the dark-colored arena. They originally only wanted to teach Luo Qingtong and the others a little lesson and then throw them out of the door. They wanted to let them know that their dark-colored arena was not a place for them to behave atrociously. But now, seeing that Luo Qingtong and the others didn't even put them in their eyes, their expressions instantly turned angry. These people from the true Spill continent simply didn't put them in their eyes. So what if the other side had someone backing them up? Chapter 29-22. However, what they didn't know was that Luo Qingtong and the others had never relied on the people of the Star Alliance. Instead, the people of the Star Alliance treated them like jewels and treasures. As for Yi Qianming's identity, they didn't dare to reveal it. The people of the Star Alliance deliberately hid it for the safety of the true Spill continent. Under such circumstances, it gave them such an illusion. As for the people of the dark-colored arena, they didn't know anything. Seeing the people of the dark-colored arena rushing towards Luo Qingtong, Tan Yu, who was clutching her stomach for a long time, revealed a cold smile. In such a situation, let's see if Luo Qingtong and the others won't be out of luck. When they were thrown out of the door, she would make them kneel at her feet like dogs and beg for mercy. Tan Yu smiled coldly. She had already thought of how to tell Mo Zhuling that she had taught the person she hated the most a lesson. She had done what she couldn't do. Just as Tan Yu was thinking this, there was a loud bang. The people of the dark-colored arena rushing towards Luo Qingtong's group all had a change in expression. In the next second, their figures were all sent flying backwards as if they had been hit by something. Their bodies smashed heavily on the ground, making a series of banging sounds. It made people feel as if their teeth were aching. Obviously, the power of that attack was extremely powerful. The higher-ups of the dark-colored arena didn't even have time to put up a defense before they were smashed apart. Not only that, but the sounds of heavy blows coming from their bodies were heard clearly. It was clear just how heavy the attack was. Everyone was lying on the ground and had lost their ability to attack in an instant. So many purple venerables were sent flying before they could even see the strength of the other party's attack or the figure of the other party. Everyone was horrified. They looked at the figure behind Luo Qingtong in shock. That figure was Chu Tianyi. At this moment, he calmly raised his head and glanced at the people in the dark-colored arena. Then, he lowered his head again and ignored them. To Chu Tianyi, the level of the people in the dark arena was too low. They didn't even have the qualifications to talk to him face to face. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong and the others, he wouldn't have taken action at all, nor would he have given them a single glance. His expression was calm, but the people in the dark arena seemed to have encountered something terrifying, and their bodies began to tremble violently. They could feel the power of the attack they had just received. Human martial arts realm. It was definitely the power of a high-level warrior above the human martial arts realm, or even the power of a peak warrior. Was he at LV7, LV8, or even the peak of LV9? Terrifying. It was simply too terrifying. No one dared to recall that moment. It was as if the god of death had gripped their throats. Chu Tiany's figure did not move at all. They didn't even know how the other party had attacked. They didn't even know how he sent them flying. This was simply too terrifying. While the upper echelons of the dark-colored arena were in shock, Tenyu's sharp voice rang out. Chapter 29-23. Tenyu's expression was both angry and ugly. She had never expected that all the dark colors higher-ups would be sent flying by Chu Tiany alone. After all, she couldn't see Chu Tiany's attack at all. She only saw the dark colors upper echelons charging towards Luo Qingtong and the rest. They seemed to have been attacked by something and were sent flying backwards. If this wasn't acting, then what was it? And it was so clumsy. These dark colors elders were too much. They were simply insulting their intelligence. Could it be that she and her grandfather couldn't see that they were acting? They had previously thought that they couldn't afford to offend Luo Qingtong and the others. If they hadn't schemed to sell Su Yu and the others to the Qin family of highest heaven, they would have found a way to get those people back. Now, they were deliberately acting for them. They were simply toying with them like fools. Tanyu's face was filled with anger, while Elder Mao's face also darkened. He coldly looked at the dark colors higher-ups lying on the ground, unable to move, and said, "You're all very good. I will definitely report today's matter to the arena master and let him deal with you according to the rules." Elder Mao's expression was cold and angry. He had always been very authoritative in the dark colors arena. But now, these dark colors elders were toying with him like a fool. He would remember today's matter. When the arena master and the others came back, he would teach them a lesson. Elder Mao's expression was furious. He fiercely flicked his sleeves, and with a boom, he attacked Luo Qingtong and the others. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the dark-colored arena's upper echelons all widened. Their bodies trembled violently as they struggled to break free from the pressure and imprisonment imposed on them by Chu Tiany. They wanted to tell Elder Mao that they weren't acting. Luo Qingtong actually had a great expert of martial realm level 7 or level 8 by her side. The other party's strength was so strong that they didn't even have a chance to speak, let alone fight back. Everyone's bodies trembled violently as they desperately shook their heads. But in Elder Mao's eyes, they were desperately trying to stop him from attacking Luo Qingtong and the others. They didn't think that this would work. At that moment, his expression became even more furious. He looked at them and said coldly, "Bastards. It's fine if you don't have any blood, but you want me to let Luo Qingtong and the others go like you? You're dreaming. Today, even if these people have the support of the heavens, they will still kneel here and repent for what they said to Luo Qingtong. Otherwise, I won't let them go." As he spoke, he dashed towards Luo Qingtong like a falcon. His 5 claws were sharp claws, sharp claws, like claws fiercely smashing towards Luo. At this moment, with a boom, his body fell heavily to the ground before he could even get close to Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she looked at Elder Mao, who was kneeling in front of her. The latter's expression was no longer as arrogant and sharp as it had been when he had faced Luo Qingtong. At this moment, his sharp voice was filled with pain. "Ah!" Elder Mao's voice was extremely sharp and painful. He didn't know what was going on, but his body had been forced to kneel on the ground by a huge force. Chapter 29-24. And this was what he had prepared to do to Luo Qingtong and the others. He didn't expect that he would receive retribution instead. Elder Mao's face was filled with horror and pain. His expression was crazily distorted, as if he had seen a ghost. His strength was already at the peak of the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm. His strength was almost the same as that of the Star Alliance's leader, Elder Fong, and the others. But at this moment, his body was pressed to the ground in an instant. He didn't have the strength to fight back. He finally understood why the upper echelons of the dark-colored arena were crazily shaking their heads. It wasn't because they didn't want him to attack Luo Qingtong and the others, but because they were telling him that the people behind Luo Qingtong weren't to be trifled with. But now, it was too late for him to comprehend it. Elder Mao's body slammed heavily onto the ground. His knees were all broken, and he let out a blood-curdling scream. Tan Yu's expression was one of extreme terror. She looked at the figures of Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao in shock. Then, she desperately tried to escape, even forgetting the sharp pain in her abdomen. She didn't expect that the upper echelons of the dark-colored arena weren't acting. They were really sent flying, and they were seriously injured. And now, even her grandfather, a peak powerhouse at the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm, was injured. How was this possible? How could the people behind Luo Qingtong be so strong? Tan Yu's face was filled with horror. She finally understood why the upper echelons of the Star Alliance were so courteous to the people of True Spill Continent. And why did Mo Zhuling hate the people of True Spill Continent and Luo Qingtong to the bone, but he still didn't touch them? It wasn't because they were hiding some secret behind them, nor was it because they were involved with the powerhouses of the Star Alliance. It was because the people behind Luo Qingtong were too strong. To be able to severely injure her grandfather and the experts of the dark color with a single strike, they didn't even know how the other party had done it. How could this not cause them to panic and fear? As for Tan Yu, she hated herself for being too stupid. Just because of a few complaints from Mo Zhuling, she had volunteered to help her clean up those people from True Spill Continent. That was just too stupid. However, Tan Yu didn't know that what she knew was only the tip of the iceberg of the power behind Luo Qingtong. And Luo Qingtong's strength was definitely not limited to this. Not only that, but the reason why the people of the Star Alliance treated Luo Qingtong with such courtesy, and why even after Mo Zhuling obtained the power of the Black Fog, he still didn't dare to openly harm the people of the True Spill Continent. This was not because of Chu Tiany's strength. It was Yi Qianming's power behind her. It was just that Tan Yu didn't know any of this. At this moment, just the strength that Chu Tiany had revealed was enough to shock her and make her feel extremely regretful and fearful. Bang! Before she could run out of the dark color's door, she was blocked by Yuan Hu's figure. Ling Tianhan, Sima Zhu, Ling Yu, and the others all slowly walked over. What did you just say? You want to kill our boss and us? Su Xiaoxiao's face was sweet. She was the first to arrive in front of Tan Yu before Ling Tianhan and the others. She looked at Tan Yu with a slightly cold and cute face, but the cold light and intent that flashed in her eyes made Tan Yu feel a chill in her heart. Chapter 29-25. Su Xiaoxiao smiled and raised her hand. With a smack, the bottle of liquid medicine in her hand landed on Tan Yu's body. Subsequently, the latter's voice was instantly filled with a miserable shriek. Su Xiaoxiao's voice was soft and cold. Tell me, how did you want to deal with us? Tan Yu couldn't stop herself from saying, I wanted my grandfather and the others to deal with you. I wanted you to crawl out of dark color on your knees like dogs and beg for mercy in front of me. Then I would stomp on your bodies and tell you to scram. Ah! I don't dare. I beg you, spare me. Tan Yu's face crumbled as she spoke. She couldn't control her body at all. Her mouth unconsciously blurted out all the words she had prepared to say to deal with Luo Qingtong and the rest. There was no hesitation at all. She was powerless to stop it. These were her inner thoughts, but she didn't say it to anyone. She just secretly thought it in her heart and felt proud. But now, under the effect of Su Xiaoxiao's liquid medicine, her mouth involuntarily blurted out all these thoughts. Tan Yu broke down and cried bitterly while begging Su Xiaoxiao and the others for mercy. She originally thought that even if she couldn't escape, she could use her identity as Elder Mao's granddaughter to beg for mercy from Su Xiaoxiao and tell them where Su Yu and the others were. Then, she could push the blame of Su Yu and the others being sold to the Qin family of the highest heaven. Naturally, she would be fine. Then, she would find a way to inform the Qin family of the highest heaven that Luo Qingtong and the others were looking for trouble with them. With the strength of the Qin family of the highest heaven, they could put Luo Qingtong and the others to death in minutes. But this would ruin everything. Under Su Xiaoxiao's liquid medicine, her words couldn't be faked. Tan Yu's heart crumbled and she was in extreme despair. She couldn't imagine what would happen if Luo Qingtong and the others found out about everything. However, no matter how much she begged or tried to stop them, Su Xiaoxiao and the others were not moved at all. Su Xiaoxiao asked as her 5 fingers danced with the medicinal liquid. The silver light that filled the sky converged into the most dazzling and moving light in her hand. Her gaze was ice cold. After hearing Tan Yu's words, she immediately patted the medicinal liquid in her hand on Tan Yu's body. The latter had a look of despair on his face as he felt the spiritual energy in his body being blocked bit by bit. The power that she had been so proud of had all dissipated like ice that had fallen into water. What was going on? Why did her power suddenly disappear? Tan Yu knew about Su Xiaoxiao's ability to concoct medicinal liquids, but wasn't it only able to make their attacks lose their power? He had never heard that the medicinal liquid she concocted could make people lose their strength and fall to the bottom of the valley. Tan Yu's face was horrified as she looked at Su Xiaoxiao. The latter's face was indifferent as she looked at her with a chuckle. Why, are you surprised? This medicinal liquid is newly concocted by me. I'm not very familiar with it and can't use it in battle. Chapter 29-26. Su Xiaoxiao's face was smiling. This medicinal liquid was newly concocted by her. Because the effect was very slow and the conditions to use it were too harsh, she had never used it outside. This time, she could use Tan Yu as the first demonstrator and use it as an experiment to let her see the effect of this medicinal liquid. If there were no accidents, this medicinal liquid would become her trump card in the future. She smiled and said to Tan Yu, the effect of this medicinal liquid is nothing. I've always been curious. The strength of a martial artist all comes from the spiritual energy in the air. If I completely reverse your strength into spiritual energy according to your strength attribute, will it make your strength and even your realm fall back to the original level, which is the level of an ordinary person? Of course, the first time I use this medicinal liquid, I may not be able to control the power, so in this life, you may be an ordinary person who can't cultivate. You won't be able to cultivate any strength. Not only that, your body may degenerate to the point that it's worse than an ordinary person. Calling you a cripple may be praising you. Because a cripple may still have the strength of a pure physical body, but you will have no strength at all, soft. And, probably like a sponge, but it doesn't matter. You have such a good face. Su Xiaoxiao said as she patted Tan Yu's bright and moving face. Her expression was cold and indifferent as she said, with this bright and moving face, when you're sold to that kind of place to do hard labor, perhaps there will be someone who won't dislike your mud-like body and will take care of you. Don't you think so? But at that time, you will probably have to work a little harder and serve a few more men in exchange for a chance to live, don't you think so? Su Xiaoxiao's voice was already incomparably cold as she finished speaking. Tan Yu's words made her angry. How dare they sell Su Yu and the others to the Supreme Heaven Qin clan? Not to mention that Su Yu and the others also won the foreign martial competition for them. Although they didn't know what the rewards of such a victory were, it must be very rich. But the price Su Yu and the others paid for their victory was to be sold by them. Su Yu was not a member of their Dark Colors arena. He was going to fulfill his promise for Luo Qingtong. Even if Elder Mao and the others didn't know about it at the time, they still didn't want to take Su Yu and the others back. Instead, he wanted to chase them out of Dark Colors and take Su Yu and the others for himself. Who gave them the courage to move against the people of True Spill Continent? Don't they know that their lives, their souls, everything belongs to Boss? This Tan Yu deserved to die. Su Xiaoxiao's face was extremely cold. The faces of Ling Tianhan and the rest were cold as well. Suyu and the others were as close as brothers, but in the end, they were betrayed by the people of the Dark Colors Arena. Their hearts were filled with rage. Xiao Xiao, you vented your anger. It's our turn now. Ling Tianhan's voice was cold as he, along with Sima Zhu and the rest, charged forward. Tan Yu's face was filled with fear and despair. She only saw layers of poisonous fog surrounding Sima Zhu's body, and then it instantly wrapped around her. The poisonous mist corroded the flesh, and in an instant, the flesh on Tan Yu's body fell off piece by piece. Chapter 29-27. Tan Yu's voice was sharp and painful to the extreme. Originally, she was afraid because of Su Xiaoxiao's words. Before she could beg for mercy from Su Xiaoxiao, Sima Zhu's poisonous fog had already wrapped around her body, making her so painful that she couldn't even beg for mercy. She could only desperately roll on the ground. 10,000 poison body, 10,000 poison power. As long as Sima Zhu was willing, he could completely make Tan Yu wander on the edge of death, never to be free. After his poisonous fog wrapped around Tan Yu, Ling Tianhan's face was cold. He raised his hand and cut off the rotten flesh on Tan Yu's body piece by piece. After Sima Zhu's poisonous fog corroded Tan Yu, it didn't corrode her sense of pain. Not only that, Tan Yu's sense of pain became more sensitive and sharp because of the poisonous fog. Under such circumstances, Ling Tianhan's every strike was like a stab to her heart. It was so painful that she screamed in agony. At this time, Tan Yu was completely regretting. How could she be so stupid to attack Luo Qingtong and the others? The other party's strength was so strong, she was so stupid to offend them with just a few words from Mo Zhuling. Ah! Tan Yu's scream was heart-wrenching. But Luo Qingtong's eyes didn't have the slightest trace of emotion. Tan Yu's end was completely brought on by her own actions. Her end was tragic, but she didn't expect that Su Yu and the others would be treated like this after she sold the Qin family of highest heaven. The status of the slaves bought from the Dark Arena in the Qin family of highest heaven was probably not even comparable to ordinary low-level slaves. Not to mention Su Yu and the others, if they didn't deal with it properly, it would be a tragic end. Compared to this, what was so tragic about Tan Yu's end? She should even be glad that Luo Qingtong didn't do it herself. Otherwise, the pain and torture she suffered would be far worse than Su Xiaoxiao and the others. After all, Luo Xianning and Yuan Shui were examples. Luo Qingtong never showed mercy to her enemies. And she wasn't stingy with her methods, letting them know who they should provoke and who they shouldn't. Don't kill them. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold, her eyes cold. Wait until we find Su Yu and the others. If Su Yu and the others had any mishap because of this. She wanted them to be skinned and pulled, their tendons, and their souls to be destroyed. And when her voice sounded, the people's hearts to the extreme, their hearts trembled, their faces to the extreme of despair. They didn't expect that because of Tan Yu's selfishness, the people of the Dark Arena's Tuzazas. Thinking about it, if anything happened to Su Yu and the others, most likely, their end would not be much better than Tan Yu's. The peoples of their hearts is of their hearts. If they knew that the strength behind Luo Qingtong was so powerful, they wouldn't have done anything to the other party. Not only that, they would have tied Tan Yu and the others up in front of Luo Qingtong and made them kneel and repent. It was too late to say anything now. Elder Mao looked at Tan Yu's eyes. It was as if he wanted to eat her alive. If it weren't for this granddaughter, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Just when the people's hearts were filled with regret and despair, a voice snapped at this time. Chapter 29-28. As the voice rang out, a middle-aged man with a fierce aura stepped into the dark-colored arena's reception hall. Behind him was a group of dark-colored arena's higher-ups with a fierce aura. These people were incomparable to the dark-colored arena's higher-ups in the reception hall. Every one of them was comparable to Elder Mao in strength. Obviously, they were the dark-colored arena's elite higher-ups, the founding elders. These people's auras and strengths were extremely powerful. The middle-aged man who stepped into the reception hall first had an aura and strength above them. He seemed to be at the peak of the 9th level Purple Venerable realm and was about to break through to the human martial realm. Such a person was definitely a top-level expert in a 9-star region like the Star Wilderness region. His strength was even stronger than Elder Mao's. At this moment, he was looking at Luo Qingtong and the others in anger, as well as the dark-colored arena's higher-ups who were kneeling on the ground and couldn't even stand up. They were completely suppressed by Chu Tianyi's power and aura. His expression was cold as he yelled angrily, "Bastards, what are you doing? How dare you disgrace our dark-colored arena?" The dark-colored arena's owner's expression was cold. Chu Tianyi's strength was extremely powerful, far beyond his detection range. Therefore, even though he felt that the dark-colored arena's people's expressions and postures were strange, the dark-colored arena's owner didn't think much of it. He only thought that Luo Qingtong and the others came to make trouble, and his people were afraid of offending the Star Alliance, so they deliberately tolerated and even knelt to the other party. Not only that, but they also allowed the other party to abuse and torture his people in his territory. The dark-colored arena's owner looked at Tanyu, who was almost tortured beyond recognition, with an extremely ugly and angry expression. Good, good, good. You came to our dark-colored arena to make trouble and tortured my people like this. Elder Fong. What do you have to say about this? As he spoke, the figures of Elder Fong and the others flashed out from behind the dark-colored arena's higher-ups. It turned out that they didn't come alone. Instead, they brought along Elder Fong and the others from the Star Alliance. In fact, the owner of the dark colors was discussing something with Elder Fong of the Star Alliance. Everyone was discussing how to form an alliance. The owner of the dark-colored arena wanted to borrow the power of Elder Fong and the others to develop his dark-colored arena in the Star Wilderness more quickly. Elder Fong and the others also wanted to borrow the other party's strength to deal with the Star Alliance's leader and the others. After Mo Zhuling's series of manipulations, the latter's reputation and status in the Star Alliance had already fallen to the lowest point. The members of the Star Alliance, who had always obeyed the orders of the Star Alliance's leader, had a strong sense of doubt. Elder Fong and the others were preparing to further undermine the prestige of the Star Alliance's leader, which required the support of external forces. However, before they could settle the matter, the people in the dark-colored arena received news that Luo Qingtong and the others had gone to the dark-colored arena to make trouble. This news was naturally spread by Tanyu. She had already made up her mind to blame Su Yu and the others. Not only that, she also wanted Luo Qingtong and the others to leave in an extremely embarrassing manner. Therefore, when she knew that Luo Qingtong and the others were coming to take back Su Yu and the others, she sent someone to secretly send a letter to the dark-colored arena's owner and the others, telling them to hurry back as soon as possible. Chapter 29-29. However, at this moment, seeing them rush back, the faces of Tanyu and the other upper echelons of the dark-colored arena revealed ash-white expressions of extreme despair and fear. Because they were all suppressed by Chu Tianyi's power, none of them could speak. At this time, the dark-colored arena master looked at their faces and thought that they were terrified and desperate because of his reprimand. His voice became even colder. You still have the face to be afraid in front of me. A group of shameless things. You actually kneel in front of others. As his words came out, Tanyu and the others' faces became even more desperate. They didn't want to kneel. They didn't have a choice. In addition, Arena Master, you should leave quickly. This Luo Qingtong was a monster. She had an extremely terrifying powerhouse by her side. How could Tanyu and the others not think that Luo Qingtong was a monster? It had to be known that the person following Luo Qingtong was most likely a high-level human martial realm powerhouse. Such a powerhouse was actually following Luo Qingtong like a servant, prioritizing her safety and only obeying her orders. They shuddered just thinking about it. They simply couldn't imagine how Luo Qingtong was able to do this. As their faces trembled with despair, Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She looked at Elder Fong and the others. It's you? She chuckled. Luo Qingtong and Elder Fong didn't have direct dealings with each other. But indirectly, she had heard Su Xiaoxiao mention Elder Fong and the others many times. She knew that they stood on the side of true Spill Continent and were very good to Su Xiaoxiao. They wholeheartedly protected the people of true Spill Continent. Therefore, her attitude towards them was very gentle. She wasn't as cold as she was towards the people of the dark-colored arena. When Elder Fong and the others arrived behind the dark-colored arena master and the others, they saw Luo Qingtong and the others. Their faces were full of horror and surprise. They were surprised that Luo Qingtong and the others appeared here, and the situation here was extremely strange. They were horrified that Luo Qingtong had returned. This young girl was placed at the apex of the young emperor's heart. She was the focus of Elder Fong and the others. It could be said that they were so good to Su Xiaoxiao and the others because they were Luo Qingtong's trusted followers. And now, Luo Qingtong was right in front of them, not to mention her. Immediately, the group of people hurriedly came up to greet them. However, at this moment, the Dark Arena Master's voice rang out. Elder Fong, you have seen the situation-colored arena. The people on my side are disappointing, so I won't say anything about it. But this Luo Qingtong and her true Spill Continent people actually dared to cause trouble in our dark color arena. I would like to ask, are you the ones who instigated this from behind? If that's the case, then let's forget about the matter we discussed today. The dark-colored arena master's face was cold. He looked at the scene in front of him and felt that he had lost all face. Although Luo Qingtong's sudden appearance was very strange, he knew that Su Yu and the others had come to fulfill their promise to Luo Qingtong. He also guessed that Luo Qingtong's appearance was related to Su Yu and the others. Chapter 29:30. But even so, it was their dark-colored arena's fault. The dark-colored arena's arena master would never allow Luo Qingtong and the others to make trouble in his territory. Otherwise, where would the dark-colored arena's dignity go? Not to mention that these people were actually forcing the higher-ups of the dark-colored arena to kneel down in their own territory. If this wasn't relying on the power of the Star Alliance's Elder Fong and the others, what else could it be? And the people on his side were really disappointing. They were so scared that they knelt down. It was simply a disgrace to him. The dark-colored arena's arena master's face was ugly. Chu Tianyi's power created an illusion, making him think that everyone in the dark-colored arena was kneeling down voluntarily. And Elder Mao, who was kneeling in the middle of the crowd with his legs broken, was completely blocked by the higher-ups of the dark-colored arena because of his angle of view. He wasn't seen by anyone. Therefore, the dark-colored arena's arena master's tone was so stiff and cold. When his voice sounded, Tan Yu and the others' faces became even more distorted and desperate. They wanted to tell the dark-colored arena's arena master that no matter what he was talking about with Elder Fong and the others, he should try his best to meet their demands. Only then would they have a chance to live. Their faces contorted with all their might, but under the pressure of Chu Tianyi's power, they couldn't say anything. When Elder Fong and the others heard the dark-colored arena's arena master's words, their faces suddenly changed. It wasn't for anything else. The dark-colored arena's arena master's words were very obvious. He was asking them if they wanted to protect Luo Qingtong and the others. If they did, then the things they had just discussed would be nullified. Not only that, the dark-colored arena's arena master would most likely take the contents of the things they discussed to the Star Alliance's alliance master and the others. At that time, Elder Fong and the rest would be questioned by the evidence presented by the Star Alliance master. Their great advantage would be gone forever. Not only that, they might even become the target of public criticism in the Star Alliance. Everyone's faces were extremely ugly. On the other hand, the dark-colored arena master's expression was extremely arrogant and cold. He didn't believe that Elder Fong and the others didn't understand what he was implying. He was waiting for Elder Fong to abandon Luo Qingtong and the others. At that time, he would like to see how these people would be arrogant in front of him. The arena master of the dark color arena sneered. Obviously, he was able to attack Luo Qingtong and the others as soon as he came in. However, he didn't do so because he felt that he alone wasn't enough to punish Luo Qingtong and the others. Wasn't the other party relying on Elder Fong and the others' influence? When they realized that Elder Fong and the others would not protect them and would even allow them to punish them, what kind of expression would they have? He actually dared to cause trouble in his dark-colored arena. The dark-colored arena master's eyes were cold. He coldly waited for Elder Fong and the others to harshly berate Luo Qingtong and the others and abandon them. Elder Fong and the others coldly looked at them and said, "Dark-colored arena master, this matter is obviously your dark-colored arena's fault. Your own people have already knelt here. What else do you have to say? You even dare to let us punish Miss Qingtong and the others. You are simply too daring." Elder Fong and the others clearly understood that even 100 dark-colored arena masters couldn't compare with Luo Qingtong. Chapter 29:31. When the voices of Elder Fong and the others rang out, the dark-colored arena's arena master was instantly enraged. He didn't expect that Elder Fong and the rest would rather offend him to protect Luo Qingtong and the rest. Are these people crazy? Just for these low-level mainlanders? The dark-colored arena's owner was furious. Then, he said coldly, "Fine. Since that's the case, don't blame the dark-colored arena for being impolite." As he spoke, he pointed at Luo Qingtong and the rest and said, "Take them down. Whoever dares to obstruct will be dealt with together with them." As he spoke, his cold eyes swept across Elder Fong and the rest. Then, he sneered and said, "Also, inform the Star Alliance's leader that we want to join forces with them." The dark-colored arena's owner's face was cold. Elder Fong and the rest really didn't know how to appreciate favors. Previously, he only thought that the Star Alliance's leader's power was deeply rooted. If he cooperated with them, he wouldn't get any benefits. Therefore, he thought of cooperating with Elder Fong and the rest. In the end, they actually didn't know how to appreciate favors and insisted on protecting Luo Qingtong and the rest. They were slapping his face. Since that's the case, why should he cooperate with them? Naturally, he should switch to the Star Alliance's leader and the rest. As for Elder Fong and the rest, they would be unlucky along with Luo Qingtong and the rest. However, just as he was thinking this, he heard Luo Qingtong's cold voice. "Is that so? Unfortunately, I'm afraid you won't have this chance." Luo Qingtong's face was indifferent. She didn't say anything and was just watching the dark-colored arena's owner's performance. Firstly, she wanted to see Elder Fong and the rest's attitude. Secondly, she wanted to see what the dark-colored arena's owner would say. If the other party could take the initiative to ask about what happened in the dark-colored arena and deal with it impartially, she might not let them off. But obviously, she was disappointed. These people were jackals of the same tribe as Tan Yu and the rest. Since that's the case, she didn't need to be polite with them anymore. Destroy them all. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. As soon as her voice sounded, the arena master let out a sneer. "Haha. Are you kidding me? Destroy us?" He sneered, "With just the two of you? Even with Fong Chengan and the others, it's still not enough." The dark-colored arena's owner sneered. The strength of this group of people was not at all inferior to Elder Fong's group. The other party wanted to destroy them? That was simply a fool's dream. The dark-colored arena master and the others were able to escape easily. They were not afraid of the attacks from Elder Fong and the others at all. However, just as he spoke, in an instant, boom! The dark-colored arena's owner was smashed into the ground. His knees were broken just like Elder Mao's. He was clearly much stronger than his opponent, but in front of Chu Tiany's power, there was no difference between the two of them. A bunch of clowns. Chu Tiany's voice was cold. He was very impatient in his heart. If he hadn't signed a 1-year contract with Luo Qingtong and if Yen Yang wasn't here, he wouldn't have listened to the dark-colored arena master dawdling for so long. To him, the other party was just like a fly. When Chu Tiany's voice sounded, Elder Fong and the rest, who were stunned and horrified, discovered Chu Tiany's existence. Chapter 29:32. They looked in shock at the dark-colored arena master who was pressed down without any strength to fight back and was ruthlessly smashed into the ground like a steak. The shock and horror in their hearts were simply indescribable. In the next second, they suddenly cried out in alarm and hurriedly fled in panic. Ah! However, before they could even take a step out, their figures had already exploded like fireworks in an instant and scattered in all directions. And Chu Tianyi's figure did not leave the corner at all. Take care of all these. From now on, the dark-colored arena belongs to you. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she ordered Elder Fong and the others. The latter and the others were already dumbfounded by this scene. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, they all nodded subconsciously. Then Elder Fong quickly regained his senses and said to Luo Qingtong, "No, no. Miss Qingtong, this is the property that you fought for." As he spoke, he shook his head repeatedly, indicating that he did not dare to accept it. They did not contribute at all. How could they dare to take Luo Qingtong's things? Not to mention that Luo Qingtong had a super strong cultivator by her side. No one knew if he would be unhappy or not. As the crowd thought this, they immediately peeked at Chu Tianyi's face. They did not dare to imagine. The other party was actually a strong cultivator around the 9th level of the human martial realm. And the other party was obviously following Luo Qingtong's orders. Oh my god, this world is really a fantasy. That young emperor's strength was amazing, but the strength behind Luo Qingtong was not weak either. These two people were simply a fantasy. Everyone's expression was stern. They thought about how Mo Zhuling had been saying that Luo Qingtong was not good enough for Yi Qianming. Now, it seemed that who was not good enough? Mo Zhuling racked his brains to hook up with the young master of the 7-star arena. But Luo Qingtong was able to make a strong cultivator around the 9th level of the human martial realm listen to her orders. They weren't even on the same level. The patriarch of the strongest family in the 7-star field may not even have the strength of 6th level of the human martial realm, let alone 9th level. While everyone was shocked, Luo Qingtong said to them indifferently, "It's fine, Xiao Xiao and the others can't take care of this kind of business. You can take it." Luo Qingtong didn't care about the industries of the Star Desolate domain. As for Xiao Xiao and the others, it was still not suitable for them to take over such a large business. It was best for them to hand it over to Elder Fong and the others to take care of it. The other party had a good relationship with the True Spill Continent and had always been looking after the True Spill Continent. Luo Qingtong didn't mind adding a bit more strength and weight to the other party, making it easier for them to resist the Star Alliance's Alliance Master. Of course, it would be best if they took down the entire Star Alliance. In this way, Luo Qingtong wouldn't need to worry about the safety of the True Spill Continent in the Star Desolate domain. After returning this time, Luo Qingtong's heart was already filled with killing intent towards Mo Zhuling and the Star Alliance's Alliance Master. The reason why she didn't move against them was because she hadn't figured out the identity of the black fog behind Mo Zhuling. Secondly, it was because she hadn't found a good candidate to take over. The Star Alliance's strength was so great that it ruled the entire Star Desolate domain. It wasn't something that Su Xiaoxiao and Grandfather Luo could easily take over. Even if they took over, they wouldn't know if others were secretly complying with them. And at this time, Elder Fong and the others were the best candidates. That was why Luo Qingtong allowed the Dark Color Arena's owner to be presumptuous. She wanted to see Elder Fong's choice. Chapter 2933. When Elder Fong and the others heard Luo Qingtong's words, they looked at each other in dismay. They were pleasantly surprised. But soon, Elder Fong came to a realization. He swallowed hard, rubbed his hands, and said to Luo Qingtong with great difficulty and caution, "We are very grateful for Miss Qingtong's kindness. But this is still Miss Qingtong's business. How about this, we will take care of it for Miss Qingtong. When the time comes, we will send all the relevant matters to little friend Xiao Xiao and the others for them to review. What do you think?" Elder Fong's attitude was very humble. He lowered his head in front of Luo Qingtong. Whether it was his words or his attitude, it was as if he was Luo Qingtong's subordinate, not a supreme elder of the Star Alliance. Luo Qingtong looked at him with a faint smile. She already understood what he meant. You want to rely on me and become my subordinate? Take care of her business for her and report all the matters to Xiao Xiao and the others. If he wasn't her subordinate, then what was he? Elder Fong and the others did not do this simply to curry favor with her. Sure enough, as soon as Luo Qingtong said this, Elder Fong's face turned red. He stuttered and said carefully, "This old man and the others do have such intentions. What does Miss Qingtong think?" Others didn't know the power behind Luo Qingtong, but they were very clear about it. At this moment, other than the extremely powerful young emperor backing her up, Luo Qingtong's secret forces were also frightening. Elder Fong and the others didn't care what others thought. They knew that as long as they could establish a relationship with Luo Qingtong, or even become her subordinate, then their future would be limitless. Just look at the treatment of Su Xiaoxiao and the others from True Spill Continent. Everyone's expression was very cautious. They were afraid that Luo Qingtong would be angry at their request. After all, the other party was even able to take in high-level human martial realm experts as his subordinates, so how could he possibly be interested in people like them? However, they didn't know that Chu Tianyi wasn't Luo Qingtong's subordinate. It was only because of Yan Yang that he signed a 1-year contract with Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong didn't regard Chu Tianyi as a subordinate. She just wanted to borrow his strength to deal with the Dark Arena. Of course, if not for Chu Tianyi, she could have done it herself. However, since there was someone else who could use it, why would she need to do it herself? Luo Qingtong looked at the cautious Star Alliance elders, thought for a moment, and then agreed. Sure. Her expression was indifferent. She was naturally willing to have complete control over Star Alliance. Since these people were willing to rely on her, then she would take advantage of the situation. At this moment, Elder Fong and the others were overjoyed. They hurriedly swore allegiance to Luo Qingtong, and then happily went to deal with the Dark Arena. The matter of Luo Qingtong coming to the Dark Arena couldn't be hidden. However, to outsiders, Elder Fong and the others said that they couldn't stand the Dark Arena's people attacking Luo Qingtong, so they brazenly attacked and killed everyone in the Dark Arena. For this reason, Elder Fong and the others pretended to be seriously injured in order to confuse outsiders. Especially the Star Alliance's leader, Mo Zhuling, and the others. This was because they could see from Luo Qingtong's attitude that she didn't want Mo Zhuling and the others to know her true strength. Chapter 29-34. Luo Qingtong was very satisfied. She originally wanted to ask Elder Fong and the others to do this, but she didn't expect that they had already done it without waiting for her instructions. Immediately, Luo Qingtong took Su Xiaoxiao and the others and prepared to leave here. However, before she could walk out of the dark color arena, she saw a group of people rushing towards her. Xiao Qi. Ji Feiyu looked anxious and forgot to hide the way he called Luo Qingtong. In fact, after knowing that the boss of the 7 unique True Yen was Luo Qingtong and Luo Qingtong's surname was also Luo, he suspected that Luo Qingtong was Luo Xiaoqi. But he didn't come to check. At this moment, he heard that Luo Qingtong had come to the Dark Colors Arena to cause trouble, and that the Dark Colors Arena Master and a group of Dark Colors elites had rushed back to deal with her severely. He immediately rushed over after hearing the news. Because the dark-colored arena master and the others did not hide their actions, anyone who saw them rushing back angrily would be able to find out what had happened. And Ji Feiyu had been secretly paying attention to Luo Qingtong's news, so he knew what had happened at once. When Luo Qingtong saw Ji Feiyu and the others rushing over, she was also surprised. Ji Feiyu? Before she finished speaking, the voices of Su Xiaoxiao and the others sounded at once. Boss, you know Child Ji and the others? They looked at Ji Feiyu and the others who had rushed over with surprise. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded, they saved me before. Luo Qingtong didn't expect Ji Feiyu to guess that she was Luo Qingtong. She was going to meet them with a different face, but she didn't expect that they would find her by themselves. When Luo Qingtong's words sounded, Sueyu and the others' voices also sounded. Little 7, so it's you? No wonder young master rushed over here in such a hurry when he heard that Luo Qingtong was in trouble. So that's your real name? A group of maidservants came down from the carriage with smiles on their faces. Luo Qingtong was stunned when she saw that they were ready to go on a long trip. Sister Sueyu, are you leaving? Luo Qingtong's brows slightly wrinkled. Weren't Ji Feiyu and the others planning to stay in Star City until Ji Feiyu's strength improved before going back? Why are we going back now? How many days had it been? When Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, Sueyu's gloomy voice also sounded. That's right. You don't know. Qin Xiong and those bastards ran back and said that because of you, young master. Before she could finish her words, Ji Feiyu's gentle and firm voice sounded. Well, Sueyu, little seven is fine. Let's go. Ji Feiyu was very careful. Although he didn't ask about Luo Qingtong's situation, he could guess that Luo Qingtong was fine when he saw them come out of the dark arena unscathed. Little Seven was so powerful when she was in her cat form, not to mention when she was in her human form. Ji Feiyu looked deeply at Luo Qingtong and didn't say anything. He let Sueyu and the others help him get on the carriage. He didn't want Luo Qingtong to know about what happened over there, so as not to implicate her. In fact, if this matter didn't involve Luo Qingtong, he wouldn't listen to his family's order so easily. Chapter 2935. Luo Qingtong frowned when she heard his voice. Qin Xiong and the others? Luo Qingtong's eyelids twitched when she thought of the conflict between her and Ji Feiyu and Mo Zhuling breaking off the engagement. Qin Xiong and the others must have gone back and told the family Ji that Ji Feiyu's engagement was broken off because of her, right? Luo Qingtong could imagine what kind of excuses Qin Xiong and the others would fabricate to slander her and Ji Feiyu in order to deal with them. After all, Ji Feiyu's engagement was broken off and the family Ji had lost face. If Qin Xiong and the others didn't come up with a clear and acceptable explanation for abandoning their master and returning to the family Ji, the family Ji wouldn't accept it. At that time, the punishment that they would receive would not be ordinary. However, pushing the blame to her and Ji Feiyu was not wrong. Ji Feiyu's engagement was broken off by Mo Zhuling because he indulged in beauty. This was the family Ji's greatest humiliation. Qin Xiong and the others had betrayed their master and fled. Not only were they not in the wrong, they were even rewarded. As a vixen, she was the target of the family Ji's people. What the hell? Luo Qingtong's head was filled with black lines after she understood. She didn't want to have anything to do with Ji Feiyu and be labeled as someone who stole Mo Zhuling's fiancé. That was why she had left Ji Feiyu's fleet early on. If she hadn't met Ji Feiyu by chance when she turned into a little white cat, she wouldn't have had any interaction with him. She was still able to bear the title of a green TB*TCH. What the F*CK? Luo Qingtong cursed in her heart. Ji Feiyu vaguely sensed that Luo Qingtong seemed to have seen through something. He said gently and firmly, "Little Seven, don't worry. I won't let them implicate you in this matter." When the time came, he would take responsibility for this matter. Come to think of it, if he were to reveal that he could cultivate, the people in the family would no longer keep an eye on Little Seven's matters. Those people just wanted to deal with him. Seeing that he could cultivate, they must be very anxious and vicious in their hearts, right? Ji Feiyu thought about it and sneered. Then he waved his hand at Luo Qingtong, indicating that Sueyu and the others should leave. At this moment, Luo Qingtong suddenly lifted the curtain of Ji Feiyu's carriage. She stepped onto the carriage and sat opposite him. "I'll go back with you," Luo Qingtong said in a low voice. Was this a joke? Was it so easy to be labeled as a green TBB*TCH? Luo Qingtong would never admit it. What's more, Qin Xiong and the others wanted to deal with her. How could she let them go? Luo Qingtong thought of this and glanced at Ji Feiyu. When she first arrived at Star City, she wanted to get rid of Qin Xiong and the others. However, the latter was stopped by Ji Feiyu when he and the others were about to kill her. Otherwise, how could Qin Xiong and the others have the chance to stir up trouble? However, Ji Feiyu did it for her own good. To a certain extent, it could be said that he saved her. Although she didn't need him to save her, she still owed him this favor. This time, she would go and get rid of Qin Xiong and the others. At the same time, she would also remove the blood curse on Ji Feiyu's body. The power of the blood curse in his body was exactly what Luo Qingtong needed. This was killing two birds with one stone. Everything happened together. There was no time like the present. She would go with them. Chapter 29:36. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she immediately ordered Su Xiaoxiao and the others to stay in Star City. In any case, with Chu Tianyi there, she wasn't afraid that anything would happen to them. She also wanted to see if Mo Zhuling and the others would cause any more trouble. To be honest, the only thing that Luo Qingtong was worried about was the black fog behind Mo Zhuling. She didn't particularly care about anything else. When Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu left, Mo Zhuling had already received news about the dark-colored arena. She already knew that Luo Qingtong had returned and was gnashing her teeth in hatred. But at this time, she heard someone report that the dark-colored arena had wanted to cause trouble for Luo Qingtong, but had been destroyed by Elder Fang and the others. This was naturally the news that Elder Fang and the others had spread. No matter what, they couldn't let their actions be unjustified. Moreover, the news that the dark-colored arena's people had spread about Luo Qingtong coming to cause trouble was originally to slander Luo Qingtong. Naturally, they had to make this matter public. When Mo Zhuling heard this news, he was so angry that he fell backwards. That bitch, how could she be so lucky every time? When the dark-colored arena's arena master and the others rushed over, Elder Fang and the others were also there. They had saved her for no reason. Otherwise, the other party would have been a corpse by now. How hateful. Mo Zhuling was so angry that his teeth were itching. At this time, Lu Yu's voice sounded. Ling, this is the group that our family is preparing to send to the True Spill continent. Take a look and see if it's convenient for you to arrange it. As Lu Yu spoke, he had already led the group of 5 people into Mo Zhuling's room. The latter was surprised. Looking at the 5 people behind Lu Yu, he discovered that they were the Lu family's elite experts. The strength of each and every one of them was actually around the 9th level of the Amethyst Elder. Through a special method, they had suppressed their strength to the 7th or 8th level. It seemed that the Lu family attached great importance to what he said this time. As Mo Zhuling thought about this, the anger and resentment he felt because Luo Qingtong had gained another benefit finally dissipated a little. She looked at the group of 5 and said to Lu Yu, "Yes, Yu Xian. But, it's only investigating the matters of the True Spill continent. Do you really need such powerful people?" She lay in front of Lu Yu and acted coquettishly. She was half guilty and half puzzled as she said, "Why don't we arrange for some ordinary purple venerable realm experts?" He didn't want the Lu family to find out that he was lying. Mo Zhuling's eyes flickered as he spoke. Lu Yu gently pinched her nose and said with a doting smile, "It's fine. They are all people sent by the family. I won't deny them face." As he said this, he whispered into Mo Zhuling's ear, "There's nothing we can do about it. They are afraid that I am speaking irresponsibly, so they are deliberately protecting you. Ling, you should know that in front of the family, I have already said all the good things about you. As long as we can confirm that the True Spill continent is hiding some secret, then the matter of our marriage proposal banquet can be cleared. At that time, you will still be my bride. I will definitely pick you up with a huge bridge and 10 miles of red dowry." Lu Yu's expression was gentle, his eyes beseeching. Mo Zhuling was very hesitant. But when she thought about the first time she met Luo Qingtong in the True Spill continent, something had indeed happened. As long as the Lu family could investigate that change, then she wouldn't be lying. As she thought this, she nodded and said, "Okay." Chapter 29:37. When Mo Zhuling said this, he was especially proud. Her relationship with the Star Alliance's leader had naturally been repaired. Or rather, it wasn't repaired. Instead, it was Mo Zhuling's one-sided, high-profile, and crushing return. If the Star Alliance's leader didn't want to lose his position and be dealt with by the Liu family, he could only listen to Mo Zhuling's orders. And he really did need to rely on Mo Zhuling's power. Otherwise, after Elder Fong and the others annexed the dark-colored arena, they would be on par with him, and might even be on the verge of overwhelming him. While Mo Zhuling was helping the Liu family arrange for the 5 members of the Liu family to be sent to the True Spill continent, on the other side, Ji Feiyu's carriage. He looked at the girl's delicate profile and sighed. "Little Seven, you shouldn't have come." Ji Feiyu knew that Luo Qingtong wouldn't be able to take this lying down. It was fine if she didn't know about this, but once she did, how could she tolerate Qin Xiong's slander? It was because he hadn't reacted in time, and she had noticed the clues. But this was their family Ji's matter, and Ji Feiyu didn't want to implicate Luo Qingtong. She had done enough for him. And he couldn't trouble her anymore. "Stop the carriage," Ji Feiyu said to Sueyu and the others. Then he looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "Little Seven, unless you get off, I won't go back to the family Ji." He didn't want to implicate her by going back to the family Ji. If she wanted to go back with him, why would Ji Feiyu need to go back? He might as well stay in the Star Alliance and wait for the family Ji's people to come and attack him. At least here, Luo Qingtong still had someone to rely on. When he said this, Luo Qingtong's brows immediately furrowed. When Sueyu and the others heard his words, they hurriedly stopped the carriage. After all, they also felt that Luo Qingtong didn't need to go with them. Firstly, this matter had nothing to do with her in the first place. It was all because of them. Secondly, this matter was directed at her and young master. If she went over, wouldn't people confirm her relationship with the young master? At that time, not only would her reputation be tarnished, she would also suffer together with the young master. Sueyu and the others had decided to go through thick and thin with Ji Feiyu. However, Luo Qingtong was just an innocent person who was implicated. Not to mention their young master, even they couldn't bear it. Everyone thought so and immediately said to Luo Qingtong, "That's right, Little Seven. We appreciate your kindness. But you really don't have to take the risk with us. You don't know, but the family Ji's situation is not someone you can afford to offend." Sueyu and the others didn't mean to say such hurtful words. But when they thought of the danger Luo Qingtong would face if she went back with them, they immediately hardened their hearts and said these words, hoping that she would back off. After all, this matter had nothing to do with her. It was them who implicated her. Or rather, it was the young master who implicated her. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she looked at them and said, "I can cure your young master's illness." As she spoke, she turned to Ji Feiyu and said, "The blood curse in your body hasn't been completely removed. It's just isolated. After returning to the family Ji, as long as the person behind you is willing, they can regain control of the blood curse in your body at any time. They can even absorb all your soul and vitality in advance." Chapter 29:38. What's more, you were supposed to have a perfected innate body, a body blessed by the heavens for cultivation. If it weren't for the existence of this blood curse, your strength would have increased to an extremely terrifying level long ago. Don't you want to experience the feeling of having all the power in your hands and having everything under your feet? I'm going back with you not only because of Qin Xiong and the others, but also because the blood curse in your body hasn't been lifted yet. And I just happen to need its power. So, do you understand? As soon as she said this, Sueyu, Ji Feiyu, and the others were instantly shocked. Sueyu and the others directly blurted out, "Little Seven, you can actually see the problem with our young master's body?" Of course. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She originally didn't plan to hide the fact that she could save Ji Feiyu in front of Sueyu and the others. Otherwise, how could she go back with them? But she originally planned to go back with them after completely solving the problem with the Star Alliance. Now, she could only bring forward the plan. But it didn't matter. Anyway, he had to make a trip there. It didn't matter when she went. Now that the power of the black fog was severely damaged, it wouldn't be able to come out to stir up trouble in a short period of time. Otherwise, Mo Zhuling wouldn't have been so embarrassed at the proposal banquet. The reason why Luo Qingtong left Chu Tianyi and the others was to prepare for a rainy day. She wasn't really worried that the black fog would come out. She always liked to think about things to the extreme, and this time was no exception. It was just a subconscious habit. When her voice sounded, Sui Yu and the others' expressions became unusually excited and emotional. This is really great. The crowd didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be able to see Ji Feiyu's problem. Not only that, but she could also cure it. They originally thought that Ji Feiyu's problem had been cured with the help of the little white cat. They didn't expect that it was just a temporary solution. Everyone was excited, but Ji Feiyu's expression was indescribably complicated. He looked at Luo Qingtong, then nodded lightly and said, "Okay." Actually, it wasn't that he wasn't moved by Luo Qingtong's words. However, she had already helped him a lot, and he didn't want her to take any more risks. If Luo Qingtong hadn't said those last words, saying that his blood curse power was good for her, perhaps Ji Feiyu would still refuse to let Luo Qingtong go back with him. But at this moment, he could only agree. After all, the other party had helped him so much, and he had nothing to give in return. Since the power of the blood curse was beneficial to her, he naturally wouldn't shirk his responsibility. As for the dangers in the family Ji, even if he had to be smashed to pieces, he would send her away safely. When Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu continued on their journey, a figure blocked the path of Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu's carriage. "Master, I also want to go to the family Ji with you." Yan Nyang, dressed in white, appeared in front of Luo Qingtong with a white jade zither in her arms. When she appeared, Chu Tianyi's figure also appeared not far away. "I also want to go." He glanced at Yan Nyang with an expressionless face. The latter had deliberately chased out of the city to avoid him. However, Chu Tianyi had been paying attention to Yan Nyang. How could he let her leave his sight so easily? Chapter 29-39. When Chu Tianyi's figure appeared, Yan Nyang immediately clenched her teeth. "What does it have to do with you that Master and I are going to the family Ji? Master's order is for you to stay in Star City and take care of Su Xiao and the others. Who allowed you to leave without permission?" Her face was filled with anger. She didn't want to be with Chu Tianyi, that was why she left Star City. Who would have thought that he would follow her out? This man was like a ghost that wouldn't go away. Yan Nyang really wanted to curse at him. But when she thought of the things that he did under the alias of Lin Yi and the things that he did for her, and then when she thought of how he sold himself to Luo Qingtong for a year, she couldn't say anything. She and Luo Qingtong were master and servant in name, but in reality, they were family. She saw Luo Qingtong as her savior in faith, and she was willing to be her servant. But Chu Tianyi wasn't like that. He was the head of the Tianfeng Chu family. In the Tianfeng region, he was an ambitious and ruthless person. Such a person was willing to lower his head for her and serve Luo Qingtong as his master, just to prove that he didn't have any ulterior motives when he approached her. Yan Nyang's heart was touched. But how could the knot in her heart be untied after so many years? How much did she suffer because of this man? The source of all the tragedies in her life was all because of him. Even if she knew that he was set up, Yan Nyang couldn't help but hate him. In fact, if Chu Tianyi didn't use the identity of Lin Yi to stay by her side, gain her trust, and break her heart, she wouldn't have been able to protect herself. Back then, when his identity was exposed, Yan Nyang would not have been able to restrain herself from making a move. When her voice rang out, Chu Tianyi's face was expressionless but firm as he said, "Back then, I said that my only request for signing the slave contract was to be with you. I have the right to refuse the order when you are not here." In short, Chu Tianyi wanted to follow Yan Nyang. When Yan Nyang heard his words, she was touched and angry. She gritted her teeth, "You." Before she could finish her words, Chu Tianyi had already gotten into the carriage, moving faster than her. Yen Yang had no choice but to get into the carriage with him. Anyway, even if she turned back immediately, Chu Tianyi would be able to follow her. Since she couldn't get rid of him, Yen Yang didn't want a trouble. Bringing him to the family Ji, at least, he could do something for Luo Qingtong. With that thought in mind, Hu Yennyang ignored Chu Tianyi. Seeing the two chasing after her, Chu Tianyi's words, Luo Qingtong's, Shi Tianyi's. She purposely didn't bring Chu Tianyi with her because she wanted the other party to be on guard and prevent others from taking advantage of the situation. But since the other party followed, so be it. Looking at the way he and Yen Yang got along, Luo Qingtong was a little worried about leaving them in the Star Alliance. If the two of them quarreled, forget it, she'd better take them with her. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately dispelled the idea of letting them go back. The group of people rushed out of the Star Wilderness. At this time, a group of people was also rushing in the direction of the Star Wilderness. Mother, are we really going to that true spill continent? Chu Yufei looked at a woman in front of her. The latter's body was very luxurious and extraordinary, with a kind of graceful bearing. However, her expression was exceptionally cold and beautiful. The light in her eyes was like a viper's tongue. Chapter 2940. When Chu Yufei spoke, the woman turned around and looked at her indifferently. Of course. If we don't go there, are we supposed to wait for Chu Lingfeng to succeed and bring that woman over? Then we'll both die without a burial ground in the Chu clan? Bai Xing's voice was cold. She had never wanted to leave the comfortable life of the Tianfeng Chu family and run to a remote and low-class place like the Star Wilderness. Furthermore, this place was a stain on her life that she didn't want to mention at all. When Bai Xing was still in the Tianfeng Chu family, she hated mentioning her origins. She didn't want anyone to know that she came from a low-class 9-star region and a low-class continent. She had worked hard all these years to build up her power in the Tianfeng Chu family and make the Tianfeng Chu family accept her. How much effort had she spent? She had done all this so that people would completely forget about her origins. However, just as she had been about to succeed, Chu Lingfeng had come and almost beaten her back to her original state. Bai Xing's fingernails dug into her palms as she thought about this. She didn't want to come here at all. She didn't want anyone to know or mention her lowly origins. However, she had no choice but to come here. Chu Lingfeng had already gained a firm foothold in the Chu family. His lack of temperament and overly straightforward personality had been completely ignored by the Chu family in the face of his tyrannical potential. In fact, no matter which family in the 6-star region it was, Chu Lingfeng would still be worshipped by others if they had such an outstanding disciple, even if he was a fool who didn't know anything. Furthermore, Chu Lingfeng wasn't completely stupid. He still had a clear sense of right and wrong, as well as his likes and dislikes. Furthermore, his keen intuition for battle was something that ordinary cultivators didn't possess. Under these circumstances, Bai Xing had been able to rely on her power in the Tianfeng Chu family to maintain her status. However, ever since Chu Lingfeng had returned from the abandoned continent and his strength had increased to the level of the human martial arts realm, she had lost this advantage. Chu Lingfeng hated her to the core. Not only that, but her daughter, Chu Yufei, had also been thoroughly hated by Chu Lingfeng because she had obeyed her orders and gotten close to Chu Ku, and the others. Originally, Chu Lingfeng had just turned a blind eye to them. But now, he was demanding that they all be expelled from the Chu family. However, Bai Xing didn't have the confidence to go against Chu Lingfeng. Everyone knew what had happened on the abandoned continent. That fool, Chu Lingfeng. Moreover, he had taken a fancy to a young man named Luo Shaoqi on the abandoned continent. And that young man was the lover of the master of the underground palace. With all these things added together, Chu Lingfeng's status in the Tianfeng Chu family instantly rose to a higher level. Because the master of the underground palace didn't come looking for trouble with the Chu family, it was obvious that the young man was protecting Chu Lingfeng. Chu Lingfeng. That fool. He had such luck. How could this not make Bai Xing hate him to the core? And because she had instigated the 9th Elder's and 3rd Elder's people to join forces and attack Chu Lingfeng. Although in the end, no evidence was found because she was too careful, everyone in the Chu family was still displeased with her. Chapter 29:41. Bai Xing knew in her heart that if she did not think of a solution quickly, she, the fake savior of the Chu family, would be completely exposed and die a horrible death when everyone in the Chu family changed their minds. Bai Xing did not doubt that Hu Yennyang would not let her off. After all, she was also involved in the incident back then. In fact, she was the one who had found Chu Tianyi, and she was the one who had given Bai Feng the idea. It was all for the sake of completely destroying Hu Yennyang. But who would have thought that Chu Tianyi's identity was so powerful? Bai Xing was simply stunned when he revealed his strength later on. Later on, she hurriedly asked Bai Feng for advice and asked her to recommend her and Chu Tianyi to leave so that she could get close to this man. She was confident that her judgment was not wrong. But reality proved that she had still underestimated Chu Tianyi. Who would have thought that the man who had fallen in the far west wilderness like a beggar would be the son of a 6-star region's aristocratic family? In the end, Chu Tianyi used his own strength to eliminate the Chu family's enemies and competitors and completely became the overlord of the 6-star region's Tianfeng domain. Bai Xing was deeply infatuated with such an identity and strength. It also made her hate herself for being so blind to have given such a good man to Hu Yennyang and let her take advantage of him for no reason. Otherwise, today, the woman that Chu Tianyi could not forget and was unswervingly loyal to would be her. Thinking of this, Bai Xing dug her fingernails deeper into her palms. She did not even realize that she was bleeding. Chu Yufei's heart also trembled when she heard her words. Her life in the Tianfeng Chu family had been very difficult during this period of time. 3rd Elder, 9th Elder, and the others had been completely punished for their failure. All of them had been crippled of their strength and bloodline and expelled from the Chu family. They would never be allowed to appear in the Tianfeng domain again. It could be said that they were all finished. After the incident on the abandoned continent, the Tianfeng Chu family had almost completely sided with Chu Lingfeng. He was now the rightful heir of the Chu family. No one could snatch his position away from him. Not only that, when Chu Tianyi was not in the Tianfeng Chu family, Chu Lingfeng had already made all the decisions for the Tianfeng Chu family. With the support of 8th Elder, Chu Lingfeng was not afraid that Tianfeng Chu family's decisions would be wrong because of his personality and ability. In the future, the entire Chu clan would belong to Chu Lingfeng. There was no doubt about that. How could Chu Yufei, who was suspected of being too close to Chu Ku, and was very likely to be involved in Chu Lingfeng's murder, have a good life in the Tianfeng Chu family? If not for Bai Xing's identity as the savior of the family head, and her management in the Tianfeng Chu family, Chu Yufei did not know what would have happened to her. Being expelled from the Tianfeng Chu family like Chu Ku would be considered a light punishment. After all, the other party was a real descendant of the Tianfeng Chu family, and she was an outsider. Yes, an outsider. Chu Yufei had never hated her identity so much. If she was the daughter of the family head, things would not have turned out like this, right? No matter how powerful Chu Lingfeng was, or how infatuated Chu Tianyi was with Yen Yang, he would not disregard his own life and identity. He would definitely give her better treatment and let her stay in the Chu family. She would not have to spend so much effort to deal with Chu Lingfeng and the others, and she would not have been treated like this. Chapter 29:42. In short, we can't let that slut Hu Yennyang have the chance to go to Tianfeng Chu's family. And we can't let the people who knew about us live. As Bai Xing said this, her face revealed an extremely sinister expression. She had come here without telling the Chu family because she wanted to eliminate Hu Yennyang and everyone who knew about her past. That fool Chu Lingfeng was nothing to be afraid of. The words he said were not trustworthy at all. But if he revealed the location of the true Spill continent, and Chu Tianyi and the others found out about the past, then even if she had 10 lives, she still wouldn't be able to survive. Therefore, not only did she come here to destroy Hu Yennyang and the Hu family, but she also wanted to get rid of all the people from the Bai family who knew about her in the past and might even have something on her. So many years had passed, and she didn't know whether the Bai family had eliminated family who were not. If they had already eliminated them, then it would save her a lot of trouble. But looking at Chu Ling Feng, that idiot, living so well, he was afraid that the Hu clan's people were all fine. Otherwise, how could Hu Yenyang raise her son so well while being hunted down by the Bai family? Humph. What a bunch of trash. Bai Xing was very dissatisfied. When she had given Bai Feng advice, it had already reached such a point. She had listed out all the things that the other party needed to do. She didn't expect that she still couldn't do anything to family Hu. Otherwise, how could she have been forced to this point by Chu Lingfeng? What a bunch of useless fools. Since that was the case, then she would personally take action and eliminate them all together. In this way, the people who knew about this matter would all be gone. So what if she was hated by Chu Lingfeng? Just her identity as his savior was enough for her to live comfortably in Tianfeng Chu's family. Even if she was expelled from the Tianfeng Chu family in the end, she would still receive a generous settlement. What did she have to fear? With this thought in mind, Bai Xing immediately led a group of experts she had recruited from the Tianfeng Chu clan and rushed towards the direction of the Star Wilderness domain. And these people were under her control. They were in the same boat as her. Even if he knew what Bai Xing was going to do and what would happen if the family found out, he had no choice but to obey her. Otherwise, if Bai Xing was unlucky, none of them would have a good ending. He might as well fight it out with Bai Xing. Perhaps he would still have a chance to survive. While they were heading towards the Star Desolate region, Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu had also arrived at the edge of the East Pavilion region after a period of travel. The East Pavilion region was not very far from the Star Wilderness domain. Otherwise, the Star Alliance's leader would not have gone to the East Pavilion region to gain experience and have the opportunity to save the family Ji's old master. At this time, Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu had just stepped into the boundary of the East Pavilion region when they bumped into a group of people who were about to rush to the Star Wilderness domain. This group of people was none other than the family Ji's group. "Yo, my good cousin, you are finally willing to come back?" Seeing Ji Feiyu's carriage, the group of people who were about to rush to the Star Wilderness domain suddenly stopped. Then, streams of light descended from the starry sky and landed in front of Ji Feiyu and the others. At this time, Ji Feiyu and Luo Qingtong had just entered the boundary of the East Pavilion region and were about to get off the carriage to rest. Chapter 2943. She must be Luo Xiaoqi, right? Ji Feitong looked Luo Qingtong up and down. He was stunned and disdainful. "She is indeed a beauty. No wonder she was able to charm my cousin so much that he even disregarded his own engagement and caused the Ji family to have their engagement annulled by the people of the Star Alliance. What a disgrace." His words were very rude, and his face was full of contempt. Ji Feiyu immediately became angry. "Shut up." He gritted his teeth and almost coughed violently due to the excitement in his heart. His body was still recuperating. Even if Luo Qingtong temporarily isolated the power of the blood curse and he would not continue to lose vitality, the loss of so many years could be healed immediately. He coughed and scolded Ji Feitong coldly, "Since you know that I am your cousin, you should know what kind of person I am." Mo Zhuling did not break off the engagement because of an affair. It was because Mo Zhuling found a better woman, the young master of an aristocratic family in the 7-star field. That's why he broke off the engagement with me. In your mouths, it became me indulging in beauty and wantonly humiliating my friend. Is this the way the family Ji taught you? Or is it that you are such people in private? That's why you slander me so wantonly and don't see the truth at all? Ji Feiyu's voice was cold. When he was preparing to return to the family Ji, he already knew what kind of humiliation he was about to face. That was why he didn't want Luo Qingtong to come back with him. Otherwise, not only would he face this humiliation, but also Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong was implicated by him. She saved his life and cured his illness. In the end, she ended up being despised with him and even had her reputation tarnished. He was extremely upset. He never got angry easily. His face was always gentle and calm, but this meeting was full of anger. A burst of Family G's first wife's imposing aura and graceful noble aura was instantly revealed. He looked at the stunned Ji Feitong and said coldly, "Apologize to her. Otherwise, don't blame me for punishing you as your eldest brother." You. Ji Feitong was stunned by the sudden change in Ji Feiyu's aura. When he came back to his senses, he instantly flew into a rage out of humiliation. Ji Feiyu had always been the target of ridicule for Family G's descendants. As the legitimate son of the Family G, he was not allowed to cultivate despite his noble status. In fact, it was unknown whether the Family G's lineage would cease to exist after him. Therefore, they were never stingy with their ridicule. In fact, because of his identity as the son of the first wife, their mockery would only intensify. Ji Feiyu had never stooped to their level. This made them think that he would not dare to resist them. Now that Ji Feiyu suddenly berated him, his aura intimidated him in an instant. How could Ji Feitong endure this? Immediately, he began to scold him harshly. "You piece of trash, what did you say? How dare you say that you want to punish me? Do you think you have the right to do so? If it weren't for your status as the legitimate son of the Family G, what do you think you are in the Family G? You would have been kicked out of the Family G long ago to fend for yourself and die without a complete corpse." Chapter 2944. Ji Feitong's heart was filled with anger. He cursed out the words in his heart without any restraint. Sui Yu and the others' expressions changed. They no longer cared about the difference between master and servant, and directly attacked Ji Feitong. "Shut up. What right do you have to insult our young master? He is the son of the Family G's first wife, and also your eldest brother. Who allowed you to be disrespectful to him?" Sui Yu and the others were angry and distressed. No one knew better than her how much their young master had suffered. If it weren't for the worry that master and madam would be put in a difficult position in the Family G because of him, how could their young master endure so many years of ridicule and humiliation? However, his repeated forbearance did not result in these people stopping before going too far. Instead, they went from bad to worse. These people had not even figured out the truth of the matter, but they were already ridiculing and humiliating their young master without restraint. In their hearts, they did not care about what would happen to their young master after the engagement was broken, and they did not care about his feelings. They only wanted to make fun of his pain. Sui Yu and the others thought so, and the anger in their hearts grew. They attacked even harder. At this moment, a force suddenly rushed out from the side and inserted itself between Ji Feitong and Sui Yu, neutralizing their strength. "Stop!" a voice sounded. Then, a very handsome man walked to Ji Feitong's side under the protection of a group of Family G experts. "What's going on? Feitong, why are you attacking my cousin's people?" Ji Feitong's voice was cold. In fact, he had seen everything that had happened just now. The reason why he did not come over was because Ji Feitong's words were very much to his liking. The other party was his lackey, and the sword in his hand would naturally strike wherever he pointed. Many things that Ji Feitong was not suitable to say and do were all done by him. Now that he saw Sui Yu and the others attacking him, Ji Feitong naturally had to intervene. As soon as Ji Feitong made a move, Ji Feitong acted as if he had met his savior and hurriedly shouted, "Big brother Feitong, you have to be the judge." Ji Feiyu's engagement was broken off by Mo Zhuling. I said a few words to the woman beside him, and he scolded me and even ordered his people to attack me. How can you say that he has no affair with the woman beside him? I don't believe it. Qin Xiong and the others came back and said it like it was true. They even attached a portrait of the woman, but Ji Feiyu still doesn't admit it. I think he's deliberately ruining our Family G's reputation. Ji Feitong's words, and the others' faces instantly flushed red. They were naturally angry. The other party was really too shameless. It was clearly because he insulted the young master first that they attacked him. But in the end, it was because they were attacking Luo Luo. These are two completely different things, okay? What's more, what he said was simply slander. Ji Feitong. Ji Feiyu's voice was cold. While Sui Yu and the others were furious, he stepped in front of Ji Feitong and the others and said coldly, "Do you dare to come with me to the Star Alliance's place and ask them if they broke off the engagement because Mo Zhuling was trying to climb up the social ladder, or because I was in love with someone else? If it's the former, I'll do whatever I want to you. If it's the latter, I'll compensate you with my life. You can do whatever you want with it." Chapter 29:45. Ji Feitong's expression changed the moment he said that. He was rash, but that didn't mean he was stupid. When Ji Feiyu said this, he clearly had confidence in his heart. Damn it, did Qin Xiong and the others really go back and spout nonsense? Ji Feitong's expression turned ugly, and Ji Fighting's brows instantly furrowed. Before they came, they really thought that Ji Feiyu had taken a liking to Luo Qingtong and that Mo Zhuling had broken off the engagement because he knew about it. Ji Feiyu was so confident that he clearly wasn't afraid of them investigating. Ji Fighting suddenly felt very uneasy as he thought about it. Qin Xiong and the others were idiots. Why couldn't they find a better excuse? They originally thought that they could humiliate Ji Feiyu, but they didn't expect that there would be no such thing. They even swore solemnly when they came back. They even provided the girl's portrait, but in the end, they told a lie that could be easily exposed. They were simply brainless fools. Ji Fighting didn't show it on his face. Instead, he smiled at Ji Feiyu and said, "Cousin, why are you so angry?" Feitong is anxious because of his family Ji. Even though he acted rashly and offended you, cousin, can you forgive him on account of his extenuating circumstances? As for the Star Alliance breaking off the engagement, he paused. It wasn't clear whether it was intentional or not, but he purposely dragged out the words, breaking off the engagement. Then, he chuckled and said, "It's fine. Since the Star Alliance doesn't know how to appreciate favors, then there's no need for us to investigate. I absolutely believe in you." Of course, he didn't know whether the people in his family believed him or not. Ji Fighting's expression was indifferent. He wasn't like Ji Feitong and the others. There was no need for him to find fault with Ji Feiyu. If Ji Feiyu said that he didn't break off the engagement because he fell in love with someone else, then he didn't break off the engagement because he fell in love with someone else. What did it matter whether they believed him or not? It was fine as long as the family didn't believe him. Moreover, Ji Feiyu was so concerned about the woman beside him. If he said that there was nothing between them, who would believe him? Just as Ji Feitong said, no one would believe him. Since that was the case, what was the need for an investigation? Instead, it cleared Ji's name and cleared his name. Why did he have to do such a thing? Before Ji could say anything, Luo Qingtong's voices heard. She looked at Ji Fighting indifferently and said, "This Ji family disciple speaks well, but even so, we still have to check what needs to be checked. Don't let others think that you're deliberately protecting us. At that time, we'll have to bear another crime, and we'll implicate you for no reason. How terrible would that be?" And Luo Qingtong smiled at Ji Fighting and said, "Seniority is important. Even if you are worried about Ji Feiyu, you still have to pay attention to seniority, right? Shouldn't he be punished for insulting his brother? Or is this how the family Ji works? Do you think you can say whatever you want? This is worse for the family Ji, isn't it?" Luo Qingtong's words made Ji Feitong furious. B*TCH, what does this have to do with you? When Ji Fighting opened his mouth, he had already realized that this was not the time to argue with Ji Feiyu. Anyway, even if Ji Feiyu managed to convince them, what about the elders of the family Ji? In the end, he had to suffer a little. But he didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would jump out while he was tolerating Ji Feiyu. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.